Just want to make a notation on or a note on dimensions. I use the term a lot here when I'm referring to this place or other places. I've heard of them as spaces, as places, but it's different than mathematical dimensions. Like a mathematical dimension, like a first dimension would just be a line, you know. Second would be like a book, you know, third dimensional item. But so when I refer to things being in the how we come from the fifth dimension, what I'm referring to something different than a mathematical dimension. I'm referring to a place, like a fifth dimensional place, or a like this place here is a third dimensional place. You know, whatever you want to call it, a space, a test area, whatever it is. It's third dimensional. But it's not, I don't mean mathematical dimensions, because that wouldn't make sense. You can't live on a book or a line. So I was watching something the other day that made me think about that. I'm like, yeah, I use these terms all the time about dimensions, and I don't really clarify. These spaces where, you know, like this is a three-dimensional space. It's not actually three dimensions. Am I saying I'm either not explaining this right or I'm explaining it three times in bad ways? The point is, I'm trying to differentiate. You get it. I mean, you know, I like to think that if you ever watch any of my stuff, you probably are at least like myself, of average intelligence and able to grasp these concepts. But yeah, it's not, I'm talking about places, spaces that, and not the actual mathematical dimension. We're gonna take a little different walk up here for change. It's an important distinction, but it sometimes I just think, I take for granted that we're all on the same page all the time and exactly on the same paragraph. You know, like a lot of my stuff is tailored toward people that are sort of operating on the same, I don't like to use the term level because that implies that someone's ahead of someone else in some way, but you know, whatever, that's how it is, that have kind of been through the other grades of understanding that reality as presented to us is not anything like it's been presented to us. And there's some kind of reality engine that exists here that powers the world around us, and the energy comes from ourselves. It's harnessed in through duplicitous means, I believe, to get us to use our energy to power this place, and ultimately we're the batteries for our own prison. But when you talk about some of these things, sometimes it gets confusing because, as I said before, we don't have handy, agreed upon terminology for a lot of this stuff. So a lot of it's cobbled together from, you know, other sources or other ideas, and it can get confusing or just sound a bit word salady if you don't kind of differentiate exactly what you're talking about. And that's why I wanted to make that notation about the dimensional spaces and dimensions as a mathematical concept. And there is crossover between the two, of course. I mean, they're connected in some way, but you can't live in a first dimension you can't live in a line, or you know what I mean. Again, here we go, spinning my wheels. But yeah, the thing is, I've spent years doing this stuff and researching, watching, learning, experiencing things for myself, adding it to the consciousness, taking from the consciousness, and I don't have time, or I don't have really the inclination to go back and try to explain how things work from the jump. There are a lot of guys that do that. Like Quantum of Conscience is still very good for that. He tends to think about people that are just hearing these ideas and these concepts for the first time, much more than I have patience for. You know, my missionary years are long behind me, or they seem long behind me. You know, when you first start piecing this together, you feel very much like that guy that's always depicted in television and movies that has the giant board on the wall with all the red pieces of string connecting them together. You know, you go through a period where you feel like that, and thankfully we live in an age of communication, heretofore unseen, heretofore, heretofore. You know, you got to try to throw something like that out once in a while. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, so I'm lucky to just exist at that time where I can, you know, compare and contrast notes with people and say, hey, this is what's going on with me. What do you think? And it must have been lonely for people who didn't have that and were, you know, ostracized in their own communities for being some sort of warlock or something, for, you know, having the nerve to question things like this or talk about things like this. Now it's commonplace. I mean, this whole communities in spaces online where you can just discuss this kind of stuff. And I don't like communities. I don't like the word community. It implies that someone's going to police it or gatekeep it. And it's usually a middle-aged white woman who has a lot of problems with me. I don't know why that is. And I have no problem with middle-aged white women. I know a lot of them. I have them in my family. I have them around me. They're great. But that just seems to be my opponent is always in that looks like that, or comes in that, whatever you call it. They're always the one that wants to yell at me for something. But and I don't know what that is. But you don't know why people don't like you. Usually people don't like you because they think that you remind them of someone they don't like. Like, I go through that here a lot too. You know, like I was saying the other day with the mask thing and the jab thing, which is coming to an end, thankfully. Not yet here. You're gonna take the masks off these people kicking and screaming. They love their submission. They love their slavery. Oh my God. But yeah, the thing is it's like, get over here. Just want to walk through here and get away from these people first before I start talking crazy. Yeah, sometimes I'll be in the middle of a good rant on something, and I'll be stopped by a group of people, and I just shut the fuck up because it's instinctual. You know, it's funny because there's a couple other people here on the island, just a few, that I talk to about these kind of, I guess, schizo subjects or whatever. And like, sometimes we literally look around ourselves as we exchange information. But that's okay. You know, I think more people are open to it than we probably think they are. It's just that growing up with that and having that be a part of your life for so long, having to hide that kind of shit, that you just assume no one's going to be understanding to these concepts, or they're going to give you a hard time about it. But people really are more open to it now, because I think people realize something's wrong. They don't know what's wrong, but you can feel it. If you can't feel it, then you're like you're really a non-player character. All right. Got nothing against church. Only people who go there and show they're plain ignorant and don't understand. That's probably buy my rings and my jewelry. Yeah, I gotta go get some actually. I haven't bought in a while. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.